Hi book friends, my name is Jen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So let's talk about what I read in March. I also just noticed how wrinkly the top of my shirt is, so that's fun. In March, I read 6 total books. 2 of those were on audio, 1 was an ARC, 2 were physical, and 1 was on Kindle. Technically 2 were on the Kindle because the ARC was an ebook, but potatoes, potatoes. My average star rating was 4.1. These books are in no particular order, so let's get going. In March, I read A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I have heard that this was described as cozy sci-fi. I have read 2 other books by her. I read the Monk and the Robot series, A Psalm for the Wild Bill and A Prayer for the Crown Shy, and I absolutely loved both of those. And while I guess technically they could be considered cozy sci-fi, it just didn't seem like it to me. The only aspect that was really sci-fi was that there was a robot. But this book was in space. It was on a spaceship. There were many different alien species, so it really, really felt cozy sci-fi. I rated this a 4.5. If you love found family, so think of Six of Crows, you will absolutely love the found family in this book. In fact, that is my absolute favorite aspect of this book, hands down. So in this book, we are on a ship called the Wayfarer, and the Wayfarer is a tunneling ship. So when I say ship, it's a spaceship. And it does just that. It makes tunnels through space so that space travelers can travel a really far distance in a really short amount of time. If you are a fan of, or you have read A Wrinkle in Time, that is sort of like how this is. They're bringing 2 distant locations closer together, but not really. And on this ship, there are multiple species working together, and they're bonding, and some of them are falling in love. And there's also a lot of cultural differences due to them being different species. Becky Chambers uses the intricacies of having all of these different species together in close quarters to generate discussion on some very important topics. For example, there was a discussion that was happening between 2 species who were forming a relationship, were starting a relationship, and they were talking about the pros and the cons and what difficulties they could foresee happening in the future. And one of those was, if something were to happen to one of them, would the other be allowed to be their emergency contact? Would the other one be allowed to go into the hospital room with the other one because they were different species and maybe they were in a place where their marriage or their relationship was not recognized? In our society, that is something that a lot of people in gay marriage have to face and have to think about. A really strong theme in this book is just to embrace differences, to embrace the differences of culture. We have a species whose view on motherhood differs very much from another species' view on motherhood. And at first, the human is very, very offended that this other character would view motherhood the way that she does. But through discussion and their, explaining why their culture is the way that they are, they can at least come to an understanding. And even though they may not come to an agreement, they definitely come to a respectful conclusion. Going into this book, I did not know that it was a 5-book series. Honestly, I may not have picked it up when I did if I knew that, because I was not ready to get into another long series. These are all on KU, and I will be reading all of them. I have seen A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet here and there on book social media, but I have never seen anything about any of the following books. So I'm really excited to get to them and to bring you my thoughts on these amazing cozy sci-fi books. The next one I have to talk about was an audio, and it was The City of Heavenly Fire. This is the 6th and last book in the Mortal Instruments series, and I listened to this one on audio, and unfortunately, I rated this one a 2.75. Overall, I think that the series, the Mortal Instruments series, is very strong. Solid 3.5. But it does not need to be 6 books long. That is where it really started to take a nosedive for me. I was really drudging my way through this book at the end. I feel like there were a lot of things that were just happening over and over again in every single book, and the rate of character growth was just odd. I feel like from the first book to maybe the 3rd book, there was some character growth, But from the third book to the sixth book, it was nothing. It was pretty much the same. On a positive note, there are other books and series in the Shadowhunter world that I'm really excited to get to. And so next up is the Infernal Devices. That's only 3 books. It is set in a Victorian London type setting. I've heard really, really good reviews about this series. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to continue this on audio or try the Infernal Devices as a physical read. Because to be honest with you, one of the things that I really did not like about the audiobooks was the accents of the narrators. I felt they were out of place and that they did not match the setting whatsoever. Next up is Belladonna. This is the hardcover without the jacket on it. I bought this in a box set because I loved the covers without the dust jackets on them. And I rated this a 4.5, which I was really happy that I liked it because I bought all 3 books before I even read the first book, and I never do that. I have seen a lot of positive reviews about this book lately, specifically from Kristen and Maddie. I will have their information linked below. They recently did an interview with Adeline Grace, and it was really, really good. This is a YA book about a girl named Signa, and she is an orphan. So her whole childhood, she is bounced around from family member to family member. When she turns 20, she is set to inherit an entire estate, but she feels like there's a curse on her because everybody that she lives with dies eventually. As she gets older, she develops a relationship with Death himself. She finds out that she can talk to him. They grow a pretty unique bond with each other. The setting and the aesthetic of this book is gorgeous. Think balls, ball gowns, kind of Bridgerton, secret gardens, dark forests, beautiful manners. There is even a ghost who haunts the library and reads all the books that he didn't get to read in his life. And I feel like I resonated with that character very strongly. There are 2 more books in this series that I can't wait to get to, and also a Christmas novella that will be released soon. Overall, a very strong read that I highly recommend. This month was exciting because when I finished City of Heavenly Fire, I closed out a series. And the next book that I'm going to talk about, I didn't really close out the series. I just caught up to the series because there are more books that will be released in the future. So I listened to on audio Percy Jackson and the Wrath of the Triple Goddess. I rated this a 3 stars. This is book 2 in a sort of continuation of the Percy Jackson series. In this series, he is a senior in high school. He needs 3 letters of recommendations from 3 different gods in order to get into the college that Annabeth will be going to, which is New Rome. So in book 1, he had to, I think, find the chalice of Ganymede or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And in this one, he was pet sitting for Hecate. And so he has to complete some pretty silly tasks for these letters of recommendation. What I love about this series is that we get all the witty banter and the funny thoughts that are going on inside all of these characters' heads. We get the hilarious title names that Rick Riordan is really, really good at coming up with. We get to follow Percy, Annabeth, Grover, and see what they've been up to since the end of the Percy Jackson series that we grew up with. We also get to see where Percy Jackson's mom is and what she is doing and what's going on in her life right now. But these books, as entertaining as they are, I really like them because they are such low stakes. And I feel like after everything that Percy Jackson and his friends went through in the first 2 series, he needs to catch a break. He needs some downtime. He needs to not save the world. He needs to not have that on his shoulders. So it's nice to be able to hang out in this world. It's almost like cozy Percy Jackson. And I really, really, really love it. The ARC copy that I read was The Sirens by Amelia Hart. So thank you to NetGalley and St. Martin's Press for the early copy that I got to read before publication date. I rated this a 5 stars. Amelia Hart wrote Wayward that you might be familiar with. To me, that was also a 5 stars when I read it. I loved every single minute of reading this book. It's dual timeline, which I really love. It is a timeline in the present and it is a timeline in the past in the 1700s. And I learned a little bit about something that I really did not know anything about. I learned a little bit about Europe when they would ship criminals to the shores of Australia, where they would then start penal colonies. This story follows two sets of sisters, one in present day, one in the 1700s. The sisters that we follow in the 1700s are on a ship. I'm not sure if they are from Ireland. I can't really remember, but it's not that important. Their story and their POVs are of them in the ship on the way to Australia, and the POV of the other two sisters are in present day. They are trying to unravel some secrets, figure out why they're having these dreams that they're having. And along the way, as the story progresses, we start to see how these two stories intertwine. And there are also a few added twists along the way. I think that everybody would like this book, but it will resonate the most strongly with women, specifically mothers or sisters. I also think that this would make a great gift, either from a mother to a daughter, or a daughter to a mother, or sister to sister. The book itself is absolutely gorgeous. The aesthetics are breathtaking, and it's so good that I am still thinking about this book over a month later. Highly recommend. Before I talk about the last book, I have two books that I did not finish that I am in the middle of. So I have been working on Words of Radiance for a couple of months now. I am officially halfway through. And I have manipulated my April TBR a little bit so that I can hopefully finish the last 500 pages in April. My April TBR video is already posted. And the other one that I did not finish, but I'm still working on, is Saga. I mean, it's a big one. This is a graphic novel set in space. I'm really liking it. I'm a little bit more than halfway done, and I will definitely finish this one in April as well. I just had to put this one down when I was reading A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, because that was just a lot of sci-fi going on at one time. So I did stop reading this one for a couple of weeks. And the last book that I have to talk about is a highly anticipated book, and it was a 5-star, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping, which should be called Sunrise on the Weeping. I'm not going to go into much depth with this book in this review, because sometime in the month of April, I will be doing a dedicated video, in-depth review. The first part will be non-spoiler, and the second half will be spoilers. But I'm going to use that video to talk about all of my thoughts. I will say that I was not disappointed. This was super emotional. I'm so excited for the movie. The movie is already planned and in the works, and I think it's coming out November 20th, 2026. But overall, Suzanne Collins did a top-notch job with this book, and I'm so excited to share all of my thoughts in a separate video. An update on my 25 and 25 bingo card. I used Belladonna for the cover buy space. And while it wasn't the cover that brought me to buy this book, it was the cover of the naked hard book itself. So for the square of chapters with titles, I used the Percy Jackson book. For a book with a snake on the cover, I used Sunrise on the Reaping. And for a TBR vet, I used City of Heavenly Fire, because I have had all of the Cassandra Clare books on my shelf for a really long time. Lastly, my book haul for the month of March, I did add 3 books to my 2025 TBR, and I thrifted all 3 of them. I found Recursion by Blake Crouch, Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman, and We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. And I found them all at the thrift store, so that was really, really exciting. I did not purchase a single book this month, except for the one that I have been planning on buying for a long time. But April is my birthday month, so I have a feeling that my April reading wrap-up is going to have a much bigger book haul at the end of it. At least I hope so. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what your favorite read of March was. I would love to hear if you have read any of the books that were on my wrap-up video. As always, I appreciate your likes, your comments, and your subscribes. And until next time, happy reading.